Okay, so we set our nuts over here on this fender. I'm sorry. We set our nuts over here on this fender next to this plastic cowl drain there. And I'm just going to put a couple of these in here. Move my tape so I can kind of close this door a little bit here. Get a little more room here. Alright, I'm going to put this one in right here. No washers or nothing on these things. Again, you know, while the box is out, you might want to, you know, make sure the studs are clean. You really want to be able to thread these things on pretty much mostly by finger, you know, because they're kind of hard to get to. Okay, there's that one there. And then we're going to do this one here. And we're going to do the one underneath there. And grab a couple more. Okay, let's see here. Here's this cowl thing. I'm just going to set it right there. Yeah. Okay, we got this guy up here. And then the one underneath that that's double nutted. So I'm going to try and let's get to the first one here. You can pretty much put all these on and tighten them up, and then you can go back and put this vent thing on there. It's just a real pain in the butt to get to there. Okay. Hose back out of the way there. You know, that's a pain to get to, so you really kind of got to be looking at it. If you can see it, yeah, you want to make sure these things are nice and clean so you can thread them on by hand. Otherwise, it's going to take you a while. Okay. They're all pretty much finger tight on there, so let me grab my wrench. Give this. I'm going to tighten this. Let me pause it real quick. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish tightening this one up here, because this one kind of holds the whole thing up, pulls it up just a little bit. I noticed the little circles where the washers are were down just a tad, and that's because this thing can pull the whole thing up. I don't know, just kind of like that a little bit. So you just probably want to tighten this one first before you tighten the other ones. It's a long extension in a really old socket. That's why it kind of pops every turner, so I need to put a little nicer socket on there. Okay, and the rest of them were 11 millimeter, I believe. That's 10. That's 11. Okay, let's see if I can get out of here without knocking the camera over. All right, let me pause it again. Go back up to the... Okay, let me make sure these are 11 millimeter. They are. And, okay. So again, these don't need to be super tight. Okay, you're kind of going to want to... Probably want to use a shorter extension than this for this one here. Let me get a shorter extension for this here. I got a deep socket on here. I might not even need the extension. Let me move around here a little bit. All right. This filming can add some challenges, that's for sure. Alright, that one's tight. Again, I would say just snug and then, you know, just a little bit, just an eighth of a turn or just a little bit more. Don't need to be super tight. Okay, that one there is probably going to want to have the extension on there again. Make sure my camera's actually going. All right. And now I gotta come, let's see. Now you cannot use a ratchet. It hits the valve cover. So I think I used just a crescent wrench and just snugged it up there. So let me do that. I think I did it from over here. I'm probably gonna be a little bit in the way. I don't know if I can move this. Sorry about that. It's not a fun one to get to back here. All right, I'm going to put the hood all the way back. So I can get just a little better angle at this. Believe it or not, that does help a little bit. Ideally, what you would probably use on this would be an open-ended wrench, you know, box end wrench. Okay, this thing shut off at some point because of the battery and I have no idea where, so I was tightening these nuts and I had an 11 millimeter wrench and was tightening these up. I put the hood all the way back because it's a lot easier to get to. So let me see where my 11 mil is. It's in the garage still, I think. Grab it. So, just going to double check these here. Got this one here. get your wrench on it. That one there, one's good. And check this one here. That one's good. We got this one here. That one's good. That one there. And then this pain in the butt one up here. Just kind of pull this wiring back a little bit, and if you can get the open end, if you've got a longer one of these, the better. 7/16. You can get it on the end of this. It's really hard to show it. Let me take the camera out here. Just because. Let's try to show it down in there. I don't know if you can see that wrench. It's actually on a nut down in there. That's where it is. It's just right there, kind of right. It's about, that stud's about 2 inches shy of the back of the engine here, so it's just really kind of a not an ideal spot there. So, but that's the stud. Put that nut on, and that's the stud. Let me get this wrench off of here. Where'd the one turn? Okay. That's the that's the stud right there. But you got to put this thing on here. And you put this one on, and then you put this last nut on, and then you are done putting your nuts on. So, let's see if I can remember how to stuff this thing in here. Let's see. It just kind of, it goes in, you know, this thing goes to the passenger side here. So let me check my camera frame here. Like I said, the book calls for I think 11 hours on this job, and plus I got to replace the compressor and all that too, so I don't know. I guess I shouldn't feel bad if I end up with a video that's 11 hours. Of course, it won't be 11, it'll be, 22. Alright, I think I just, this hose is kind of in the way here. Just kind of stuff it right here for a second. And this one's kind of in the way too. So I'll just kind of set it right there. Gives you a little cleaner shot than what I got to do here. So we just basically got to stuff this thing down in there like that. Let me see here. There's a very specific vent opening here that you basically push this thing up into. So the you gotta try and get it down in there without. Okay. That's another thing that was probably designed after. Okay, now I gotta kind of lay down over this because I need my other hand here. Okay. Now I gotta make sure that it's over that stud. And that's not gonna happen because my shoulder's all not working that direction. This thing's gonna fall down in there, and while it's falling, this weather stripping crap's falling off of it. That's nice. Okay. I gotta get over there so I can see where the stud is. Okay. Okay, you can get that plastics part with the hole in it. You can get that over the stud, and then it's kind of on there cockeyed, and then you can kind of tilt it up into place and tighten it. So I'm going to go ahead, since I got it on that stud, I'm going to go ahead and put this other nut on there if I can get it down in there. This damn wiring harness running across there, if they would have just made the thing a little bit longer so you could move it around a little bit more. I mean, I guess you could unplug it from over here, but still, it's still kind of bottled up right here. So okay, that wasn't much more tighter than that when I took it off of there. Okay, so, and then this thing's just going to kind of rotate up into there. That's the theory anyways. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you know, with the gasket kind of missing or broken in the front, I mean, you could always take and put some silicone on there or maybe some tape. That is not a perfectly watertight seal, as it is for a lot of reasons. So, you know, as long as the thing's clean and you got a little bit going across there, you know, but that's relatively, I mean, it's a pain in the butt, but you could take that off and put some silicone on there or take some of that weather stripping stuff and make yourself a new seal for it. It's not that big a deal. This one I'm not worried about because it's still good on the back side. It was clogged all full of stuff. It's going to drain a lot better now than it has, so I can always go back and fix that. So at another time, it's not that big of a deal. So, okay, got that on there. Now what we're going to want to do is tighten it. So we're going to basically do the same thing that we did before with this. And I'm going to probably get a few more turns on there by hand. Yep. And yeah, a longer one of these things with a little bit of a bend in the end would be about perfect for that. Okay, that ain't going anywhere. We're good. Okay. Let's reattach our vacuum line here. While we're at it, just put this tape over these heater core holes here just so nothing gets in there, because there was no plugs or anything on there. There's some plugs on here. So while we're at it, so we're here. This is your little drain plug thing that goes down here. I'll show you real quick since the hood's up. Pardon the camera shake. But that goes down there on that there. So we'll just take and slide that on there. Alright, done with that. Okay, so, alright. So I probably need to stop this thing and check my footage, check the camera, check the battery, and regroup and get going again here. So, okay. Oh, you know what he forgot to do? One thing. Forgot to put this plate on here. This plate's got to go down here where these two things go. So, let's run these off of here real quick. It's another reason to double check everything and try and keep your... See, this part was kind of, you know, it wasn't part of the box and all that other stuff, so it's like you just kind of forget about it. But thought it looked a little bare down there. Okay. And top one on. The bottom one on there. Alright, well that was a quick enough fix. So, alright, and again, I guess we could go ahead and put this on too. We got the brace here for the lines here. Let me see if I can find my wrench there inside. This is either a quarter or 5/16, can't remember. I think it's one of these. All right. Okay. Let's see, that thing just feels like it needs to be slid back a little more. That clamp's just kind of doesn't want to fit on there the greatest. Those lines got a little bit different bend in them than the original ones. You know how that goes. So that's good enough there. Okay, so I'm going to set this thing back down here. Watch this thing sticking out. You should put this back over there before you should put the prop rod back up under the hood before you lay the hood back so you don't joust somebody in the head. Alright, so we got all of our nuts put back on. We got the cowl drain tube thing back on. Got that clamp back on, got our drain tube for the heater core box back on, got our bracket back on for the little AC canister that we got to put back over there when we redo all the AC stuff. Probably the next thing I'm going to do is probably just go ahead and put the heater core lines back on. I might, but then after that I think I'm going to start buttoning it up a little bit more inside and see if we can get that dash back on there. So that's probably going to be the next big thing. Stick with me. Okay, so real quick, pardon the camera movement here. Couple things here real quick. Again, really the only things we got to hook up, and we can do it after we get the dash hung, is this green thing here, this plug here to here, your radio antenna thing, and then you know, any other wiring that you may have going that direction. We're going to untape this fuse box and put it back where it's supposed to go. Probably the first thing we need to do. Okay. That's some sticky tape. Works good, as you can see. All right. And let's see. Here's the screws, and I remember the screws specifically for the fuse box here because they were galvanized. Hang on, let me get a little better angle on this here. Okay, so it would appear well, I got so into all these plugs and everything else, forgot to put our bolt back in. What bolt? The one that goes right here to the little bracket that didn't bend. So, let me move this vent out of the way here. And we may have to push this thing back in here just a little bit to get it to line up there, but that's okay. I think this will probably persuade it enough there. Okay, my hair's getting stuck in all this tape. All right. There we go. Can't believe we almost forgot that. But again, that's what happens when you get, you know, get busy. I think you could have put this one in anyway after you got the dash back together. But all right, so we got our bolt removed, our wiring harness magically routed behind this bracket here, the fuse block bolted up here, our bolt reinstalled, this relay clipped back up here, this plug end clipped back up here, and this vacuum harness clipped back up here. We've got our airbag wire kind of hidden behind here, and we've got our courtesy light wire kind of hidden over here. And it should be, after we get this thing back on there, it should be a pretty straight shot of putting the dash back on. As a matter of fact, I can take this one nut off of here and put this back up there. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, I need to hose this thing out, because it's dirty and dusty. I don't want to go through all that without hosing this thing out, so we're going to clean this thing off and then we shall return. Stick with me, guys and gals. All right, so we're back, and I found a nut and a washer for this vent here. It's supposed to have a nut on each side, but it only had one, and so I took it off and washed it off a little bit. So let me try to get this thing back in here. Oops, upside down again. I don't know why I have a tendency to want to put it on like that. Okay. Alright. There had the nut. Okay. Now let me make sure this thing's I grabbed a tiny little nut instead of a washer. Hold on. Okay. Grabbed a nut and 2 nuts and not a washer, so. Kind of hard to get it on there at this angle I'm at here because kind of at a funny angle. I'm having a harder time with this one, so I'm going to take this nut here. Seems to fit better over here, so I'm going to take this nut off and put it on that side so I can get to this side a little bit easier to fidget with that. Again, sorry for all this delay. I could just maybe speed it up, but okay, I'm guessing the reason there's no nut on there to begin with is because something's fouled up with that stud there, so. I'm wondering if it's one of these bigger ones. Yeah, a bigger one seems to fit on there better, so we'll put this one back on here and get a little bigger nut. Really doesn't need to be on there because it was missing when I took it apart, but okay, just a little bit less to vibrate around, you know. Try this and see if this fits. I mean, the dash goes up against here, but I mean, let's, like I said, there's a little less movement. Okay, we got one that'll fit on there. I think it'll fit on there. Yeah, it's probably too big. No, it's going on there. Yeah, it's too big. damn it. Okay. Needs to be the same size as one of these. And that seems to go on there. So what do we got? Okay, apparently it's a mystery size. Oh. It's just a pain to get to from this side. Let me check my camera, make sure it's still going. Yeah. Well, that's why they didn't take the time, or somebody didn't put a right nut on there. Like I said, this is the stupid stuff that takes up all the time. I have no idea what size this thing is. Well, it seems like one of these will fit. So I'm going to take this one here. What a pain in the rear. For some reason, okay, where's my, I don't know why this nut, one of these nuts here that's supposed to fit on the dash will fit on there, but the nut that will fit on here won't fit on there, so I don't know, it's just screwing with me, just because. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I don't know why that one wouldn't have a nut on there to fit anything else. But anyways, now when my camera's still somewhat in frame here, I've got this heater hose here that I'm going to hook up right here. And you want to kind of pull on that until it pops over the edge there. Okay, now I got to find another nut. One of these nuts that'll work for this right here. And is that the same one as this? Yeah. I'll be right back. I'll spare you for doing all that. Okay, found one that'll work. Little guy right here. So, okay, we're good to go. So, as far as I can tell, you need to move the duct here, and probably all of the ducts probably need to be moved. Yeah. In case you've noticed, I'm really not looking forward to putting this back on here. This stuff is just you know. So I'm trying to figure out whether I should leave these two nuts on here so I can kind of slide it up and hook it over here, or whether I just need to try to hook it on these and let it, you know what I mean? So I'm not sure which way I'm going to go with that. They were on here when I took it off. They don't have far to slide on there, so I think that'll... One more thing that I've noticed. This right here. This is a bracket for the original factory radio, I believe. The back of it bolts to this thing here. It's bent back because aftermarket radios won't fit in there with it in there. This thing is sitting up on this these two little shelves like this. And I'm going to take it out of there because all that was doing was making it harder to put an aftermarket radio in there, and it really doesn't need to be in there. I will take this camera off of here and kind of show you how it was sitting in here like this. It's just sitting on there like that. And then it sits down on these two dash studs like that. Basically sits on there like that. But like on there. So we're not taking that off of there. But if you're going to leave that on there, you might want to you know, remember that you know, you gotta try and... I think you might be able to put this in from the top. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Anyways, it's coming out of there because it doesn't need to be in there. So sorry about that. Put the camera back over here. All right. I'm gonna pause it real quick. I'll pause. Okay, so the first part of doing this, putting it back on here, is we've got to undo the tape job. So we've got rags over there on the steering column and that foam thing on the steering column. We've got the shifter rolled up with the rag and the tape around it. And then just basically this crap show right here of the tape on the seat. Should just be able to kind of tear through some of this tape and let this thing down. Just looking to make sure, like I said, all this stuff should be kind of hanging under the dash. As long as this stuff here is out of the way of this going up against here, shouldn't have any real problems. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to tape that stuff up out of the way because that's really the only thing I see getting in the way there. If that makes any sense. It's these, if you can see it there. These vacuum harness lines here. In the antenna wire, I'm just going to tape these up out of the way. Tape them onto the front side of the glove box a little bit here. And then, got to make sure that wire there doesn't get in there. But I think if I just take and put a little bit of tape from this speaker wire here up to this wiring harness there, I think that'll be okay. I don't think too much else will get in the way. I think this stuff will all hang down, you know. So, we'll see, I guess, huh? Alright. Smoky out today a little bit. They're doing, you can smell it in the air. They're doing that prescribed burn or something because when they do that, it's got a weird smell. So, okay. Let me see if I can get a little better angle here. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know what a good angle for this is, to be honest with you. So, all right. I'm gonna put the gloves on here. And after I get this sucker on, I'm going to take a break for a few because I got some other stuff that's dying for attention around here. So, okay, let's see how it goes. I'm just going to start by ripping this tape here. It rips pretty easy. You can see we're already loose. Okay. We can get the tape off of the seat in a minute. Okay, nice and easy. I gotta go over on this other side and check something real quick. Check the courtesy light wire over here. I never did take this courtesy light wire thing off of here. Let's see here. Okay, I just have to, okay. Hang on, I gotta tape this door open here. Alright. Just so I can get it to whatever I need to get to over here. This courtesy light thing here needs to come unplugged, but it's just a nasty little, it's a bitch to get that plug off of there. Jeez. But I'm going to try and put it on there without on there, so hang on there. So hopefully if you're wondering what I'm rambling and yammering about, I'm talking about this courtesy light wire here that's on the other side. It goes to this courtesy light thing here. Alright. See what we got. Okay, again, I'm kind of going to try and get in here. Because it's really the only feasible way I can see to lift this up. I'm going to try and see what I'm going to try and do here. Okay, let's get a really good look at where these... Okay, this thing's got to go up a ways. I'm going to take these nuts off, because I think this thing will just hang down on there easier. I think the steering column needs to go. I feel like it's kind of preventing me from pulling up on this column anymore, or on this dash anymore. You've got to remember, you basically got these four brackets, these L brackets that come down, you know, this one here, here, and here. You got to get all those things up. I probably got to get this thing up. Well, let's see. I'm thinking out loud here, forgive me. You're like, it ain't the first time, dude. That's all you do is think out loud. Okay. I'm going to see if I can center myself a little bit here. Okay, I kind of got it hooked on this side here, but I still got to get it up on the other side. So what I'm going to do is, because I do kind of have it hooked a little bit on this side here, I'm just going to really lightly, loosely put one of these nuts up here on here. That will keep it from, let me move it around, but keep it from popping off. Alright, and these studs here, so I should be, once I get this thing, I'm going to go ahead and even put these nuts on here. Once I get that thing lifted up and on there on the other side, I think we're good. It's just the steering column is kind of preventing it from me able to lift it up over there on that end. So that's my theory anyway. Okay, so okay, and here's our harness that we taped up here, so that's a good sign. So, all right, let me check the video here, and let me reposition the camera here, and see if we can repeat the same thing on the other side here. Okay. Yeah, this hook here is a little under the dash. Okay, yeah, I think this column's what's weighting me down here. We'll see here. Yeah, that was what was going on there. So I don't know what the solution to that is when you're putting this thing back together. I don't think there is one. Just you know. Okay, let's take this off of here. I'm going to go ahead and leave this towel on here. And this thing, okay, this thing wants to be, okay, like that. I'm going to go ahead and put, again, a couple of these nuts up here. And again, if you've got a really heavily rusted one, you may have to get creative with some of this, but if I had one that was really rusted, I wouldn't be putting any of this stuff back in here. I'd be doing something entirely different with it. Okay. And then we got some of these Torx bits. I'm just going to put a couple of these in there a little bit loose. Okay, now I'm going to put this padding under this steering column here just to lift it up a little bit there so we can. Alright. And back over to this side here. Pardon the violent zooming and the camera shaking and. Okay, let's see. So I got one more of these nuts to put on this stud here. Again, awkward angle. Hold on just a second. Let me put this. Taking this first nut off here and putting it back over here. Again, we used one of these nuts to hold that vent thing on, and then we got another nut for this. So. Okay. All right. Fortunately, that fell out and fell to the bottom there. That's nice that it did that. Okay, so we kind of got those on there a little bit. Now we're going to take these torque screws on this side. These are the ones that go in, if you can see. Right here. There's kind of a alignment hole dowel that this dash likes to go in right here. I don't really know how to explain it. It had to kind of pop in on this side. It went in on the other side okay. Alright, just run these down a little bit by hand. These don't go in too far before they start getting kind of stiff. So expect that. Expect you'll drop that too. Oh. Okay. A few turns on this with the wrench while I'm standing here. Again, ideally I'd probably be using a smaller wrench, but this is just what was laying around and what I grabbed, so. Again, really not something to be in a hurry to do. Okay, we've got one more on this side. And these don't need to be super tight either. I'm not going to do a full tightening on them right now. I'm going to wait till all the rest of this thing's together before I tighten everything down, given all the pieces of this whole dash here. Again, this is where your air tool or your electric, your battery operated ratchet come into play. Again, this is the wrench that I grabbed, so that's just kind of what I'm using. Okay, that all looks like it's going to go back together like it's supposed to. Okay, I'm going to go check on the other side real quick. And after I get this on here a little bit, I think the next thing is to plug that stuff in over there into the dash, and then get the steering column back up where it's supposed to be. We still got the console and all that stuff to put back in here too. Okay, back here at the dash in the glove box area here, and I did want to just emphasize a little extra special attention on that. Remember, we put our airbag wire back here, kind of hit it behind our brace here, our brace that magically let the wire harness behind it. And so now we need to make sure we plug in this thing. So we got to remember that it's right up there. I can try and hold this thing so you can see it there. Okay. Make sure I got it in there. It's not snapped all the way in there. I'm just trying to make sure I got a picture of it here so I can... All right. So, we got that thing hooked up there. And now we've got our hose control harness here for our controls here. Okay. Next, let's take this heater hose here. This goes to your vent here. We'll kind of put that on there. Again, you kind of twist it and push, and it'll kind of pop on there. And we got these up here. And this is just going to, these all look okay. So we're just going to take and plug that in there. And then these things are all in this harness like this right here. So that stuff's all nicely tucked in there. This is just a speaker wire here, going to the speaker up here. And I'll deal with that in a minute. Now we got this green electrical plug here. I'll pull this thing up here. Again, just kind of got to be patient with this stuff. It'll go. It's just... Okay, now we're going to take and hook the green plug onto there. Good to go there. Push these little red tabs in. I never do, but... Okay. Let me move these couple hoses here and put these down in here. I think this fits a little better like that. Maybe there. Let's get a little bit more slack in this here. Let's unhook this here. And run it. Sorry about the camera angle there. Run it under here. It seems to want to go under here a little bit better, so that's going to help it a little bit there. All right, good enough. For now, if I got to retuck that in there, I will. And let's see. We got our antenna wire, which is over here. So we're just going to feed that up through here. Let me just set this down on the seat here. Yeah, that's going to work well. All right. You're just going to have to deal with that sideways for a second while I hook this up. Okay, that's for the antenna there. Okay. Again, this is just some speaker wire here that's just kind of wadded up here. Just takes a little bit more of it and probably is wrapped around all this crap, but that's okay. Not going to cause a problem with anything. It's already like that. Okay. And this little wire here, I think that goes down to the heater. I'm not sure where that wire goes. We'll have to investigate that. That little one there. So otherwise we got all this stuff in here. Before I get too carried away, we also have a new blower motor that we're going to put in, and we have new controls for this right here as well. So we're going to be doing that too, so whole thing. So all right, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to make sure everything under there is like it's supposed to be and double check it and see if I can remember where that little wire there goes. And then I'm going to get ready to switch over to the other side and get that steering column bolted up. So stick with me. Okay, just to recap, of course we hooked up our vacuum line here over to here. We hooked up our green plug here. We've got our antenna wire here. We hooked up our airbag switch up there, that yellow one there. We plugged in our vent tube here, and now I'm going to see where that little wire down there goes to, and then we're going to go back over here and get that steering column bolted up. And then after that, I also have a new blower motor to install, and then some of these new things here too, the controls. So I shall return. Okay, that wire here. Again, we got our courtesy light wire here. We got to put the courtesy light switch back on here and feed it through here. But this wire here, where is it now? It was the one I just had in my hand. This one, sorry, this one here. That goes to the stock speaker. And for some reason that wire had a short and never worked right somewhere in the harness, so it just has another wire running to it. So that one, those don't get hooked up on here. So that's where that one was going there. And this wire here goes to an old light here that was for an alarm, so that's not being used either. So just thought I'd do a quick update on that. Like I said, different vehicles, different wires. So I think we're pretty much done on this side right here. It's going to be over there to get the steering column bolted up. Not sure whether I'll move the camera over there or try and see if I can do it from over here. So okay, pardon the wind noise here. Okay, again, this is kind of what we got going on here with the steering column situation here. Basically, you've got 4 nuts. These two back here, you just loosen on each side, and these two here, you basically take them off. So I put the nuts back up on here. So basically what you do is you loosen these two, take these 2 nuts off here. And then you're going to lift the column back up until it goes through these little grommets here. And then you're going to put the nuts back on the underside, and then you're going to tighten those lightly, and then when these are tightened and it's all the way up, then you tighten those ones on the back there. So I'm going to see if I can find a way to get a halfway decent angle on this. So all right, and it's a 13 millimeter. So we're going to see if we can get a halfway decent shot of what I got going on in here. So, all right. Again, we got these 2 nuts here. Okay, again, I think it's easier to kind of sit here because it seems like you kind of got to push forward on this steering wheel assembly a little bit. Kind of got to push it forward like you're, you know, accelerating really fast. Like would not be doing that in one of these, but you know. Okay, and we got that up there. And we'll get a nut on the other side of this. Again, it's a good idea to just put them on there loosely and then check, because there's a lot of wiring and stuff under here. So, you know, wiring that's factory wiring, non-factory wiring. Again, here's our little fog light harness here. And the wiring harness to all the rest of this stuff. Okay, looks pretty good. Again, lots of rags, lots of towels to pad stuff. It really makes, you know, a huge difference. Okay. Once again, just checking everything over. Make sure it doesn't look like anything's pinched. You get a pinched wire someplace, man, and you end up with electrical problems that you never find, and that sucks. Okay, well, it looks like we're good to go there, so I'm going to check the camera here. Still going. Okay, I'm going to try and run these bolts. I'm going to lift up on a little bit more and get them up there by hand. And let me get my socket here. Alright, got that one on that side up there a little bit. Okay. Now I'm guessing once that's kind of up to height there, then we're going to kind of tighten these other ones down just a little bit. Some on the other side here. Always try to tighten this stuff up kind of evenly. Okay. Okay. It's a steering column. I figure a little extra turn on there isn't going to hurt it any. I actually have some metal bolts and some stuff going on down here, so that's kind of nice. To be tightening something on metal instead of plastic. Alright, let's run these things down. Okay, I think we're good to go there. Let's see here. Okay, so next is pretty much going to be the instrument panel, this kick panel here, We got to make sure we put our wiring in there. And then again, we got to put a new blower motor in, and we got to take these controls out here and do that before we put this bezel and some of this stuff back on here. And then we got the console still, so still got some work to do in there, but we're getting there, so stick with me. Okay, we're back, and we're going to reinstall the cluster, instrument cluster. So, pretty straightforward. Now's a really good time to break out the Windex or plastic polish or whatever and clean your lens really good. Dust all this off. I went over, like I said, if you're, if you got a wheeling Jeep, then whatever, but if you're trying to make a nice daily driver and have it nice and clean a little bit, then it doesn't hurt to wipe all this stuff down. And so basically we got two plugs here to plug back in. One of them is a white socket, one of them is a black socket, and one of them is a white plug, and one of them is a black plug. So really doesn't get any more straightforward than that. We just kind of set this one up here and plug that one into there. This is also a good time to change any light bulbs or put custom light bulbs in or anything if you're wanting to do that. Fortunately, these instrument clusters come out fairly easily, so alright, and we're just gonna kind of set it in there like that. Make sure we got this in frame here. We need to zoom back a little bit. And this had 4 screws, and I took those 4 screws and taped them up and taped them to the back of the cluster. And then the bezel's got 5 screws, and I did the same with it. Taped the 5 screws to the back of the bezel. So, alright, let's see here. Where are we? Let's get it together here. Alright. There's one right there. One right there. Definitely screws. It helps to turn backwards a couple of times and then forwards to kind of make sure they're in the groove, because they're kind of a metal screw, and sometimes they can get going in at an angle. You do not want to over tighten these either, or you'll end up cracking your cluster, and you don't want to crack your cluster. No siree. So let me move this bezel over here, and we'll get in here. And I put some screws in here on the other side. And once again, it's nice when everything lines up. That's a good sign that you got everything back together. These are a 1/4 inch or a Phillips head. And sometimes I use a screwdriver on stuff like this if I can. I mean, the Phillips or the 1/4 inch is fine. But again, you don't want to use a wrench, or you don't want to tighten them down too much. So, and this one is going in it a little bit funny, so that's what I'm saying. I kind of back it up and back it out until it finds its way. There we go. Wrong screw. Definitely just snug on these things. And if you're not sure how snug something is sometimes, or if there's no shame in tightening it, back it off a little bit, kind of feel how tight it is, make sure it's and then it's good to go. All right, I don't think I need to do anything else. before I put this thing on. And I cleaned this thing off too. So there you go. This kind of just slides down in there. There's a couple of, it just kind of slides down in there. I'm not quite sure how to explain it. But there's 2 screws on the bottom here and 3 on the top. So any of them are going to be difficult to line up. It's probably going to be those, but these bottom ones look like they're lining up already, so I'm just going to put a screw in there and put a few turns in there on that. Oh yeah, nice and easy going in there. That's how we want it with these things here. Okay. And over here. Again, let me check my camera angle. I probably need to back off. Yeah, I'm okay, I guess. Okay. Again, sometimes when you, I'll show you on this one here, sometimes when you start these screws in, they really aren't in the groove right. I don't know how to explain it. They might be kind of going in there even straight, but they just, so if you take it and turn them backwards a couple times, then when you kind of hear that clicking noise, that means you kind of know you're in the groove. You can do that with any kind of nut, bolt, screw, you know. Just a little tip there to try to keep you from cross-threading things or doing stuff like that. Okay. Now I got, all right, 3 more screws here. Definitely easier to look at these through the windshield. Because if you try to stick your head up through here, then that's not going to work very well. And again, you don't, excuse me, you don't need to get these real tight, so a little stubby Phillips head should do. But if that doesn't work, you know, you might need something like this with the, remember we're in the windshield area, so you're better off to use that plastic ratchet. Let me check and make sure we're still rolling here. Okay, got this tightened up, so we're gonna snug these up. Okay, and then I guess, let's see, next I guess is this panel down here, which I gotta remember to put my fog lights switch in there. And trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's pretty much it for this part right now. After this, I need to move on to the blower motor and the center control there, replacing those. And then after that, put the console back in, put that bezel back on there, get the remaining trim pieces on here. Then move on to the underside where we're going to reattach the heater hose, put the battery back in, and stop the video and get ready to do the next segment or next part, which is going to be all the compressor and lines and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to get the battery in it, we're going to get the heater hoses hooked up, and we're going to get it, you know, we're going to get it running again before we go and do all of that. So get it back together in here. So stick with me. All right, we're going to put this kick panel on down here. So let's see here. Here's the kick panel. I put a piece of tape over each one of these just to kind of hold the screws in there a little bit. It's just 2 screws and it just kind of pops on there. And again, I got a hole here for my our fog light deal here. So it was already off, so down should be off, up should be on. So I'm just going to put it in there. So that's would be the way you'd have to push it, turn it on. What did I say? It was already off and already on. Well, if I turn it on in the battery, and if I got to flip it around, it ain't no big deal. Just reach up underneath there and move it. Okay. And that's the kind of thing that happens. You remember what, you know, you're like, okay, and then 2 seconds later, you're like, duh. All right. And 2 screws. These are just Phillips heads. Again, these things, this has clips and stuff, so you really don't need to put these screws in there too tight. Again, all this plastic trim stuff, you want to be easy on it, especially when it's older. All right, and we got this thing here. This is kind of an aftermarket digital speedometer thing that was up here. And so we're going to put that back in here. It just plugs into an accessory plug. So this is a pretty simple little deal. It just goes on there like that. And then this cord, it kind of went on the other side of it here. This cord just ran down here, and then it goes into these accessory plugs and some of this stuff here, but I'm just going to wrap it around the column here for now like that and leave it there so I know, remember that it's hooked up. And it's one less thing laying back there, so. Okay, wow, it's actually starting to look like a factory Jeep again after all that, so. All right, there we go. Yeah, so now we're going to go around to the other side and we're going to check out that new blower motor and that resistor setup and see what's going on with that. All right, so we got our old blower motor here. This is the old one here. All right. And then we got a new one. And we got one of these kabuki deals here. A new one of these resistor things to plug into there. I guess I could have left that one out or replaced it. I just wasn't thinking. But that's okay. We can do all this kind of in one video. So we got the blower resistor. And a whole new blower motor. So, okay, so the blower motor should just be, if I can remember how the thing goes in there, it just goes in here and turns and locks into place. Let's see, I gotta remember how this thing goes in Okay, well, let's see. The electrical plug is kind of on this side, so it's probably going to want to at least end up like that. So. There's just a way that it goes in there and clicks in there. It's not that hard, but God. Okay. Once again, it's stupid. You know, sometimes this stuff's frustrating because when you spent most of your life doing stuff and then you just have stupid crap like this slow you down, it's just like whatever. Okay. Alright, so there's a little one back there. So they're all the same size, these little tabs on. Here's the secret, okay? This thing's still going. Okay. All these little tabs around here. This one here, this one here. All these little tabs are the same size except for this one right here. And this one's small, that one's big, and then there's a space in between. So somewhere, wherever the slot is for those, you put that in there, and then I'm guessing twist it like that. So I'm going to try just doing that. I think it's in there. Yeah, just stiff. You never know with this plastic stuff. Okay, now there's a plug. Jeez. Which way does the plug go? Okay. So now there's a plug and it's got to go so the terminals are, you know, horizontal, and then it's got to go the right way, which is clip parts on the bottom. So horizontal, so that isn't right. So it probably goes in clip part on the bottom like this. Okay, so I'm going to take the camera off right here just to say, just trying to be thorough. All right, so right here, if you can see in there, right here, this plug, this little red thing's going to go to the outside. And it's going to go in that socket there. You're going to have to fiddle around with it until you find it. Yeah, that's what she said joke. Okay, there we go. There, and then just, yeah, it should be pushed in all the way. And then, nope. Okay, I know. Now I gotta set the camera down. I gotta do something. Hold on a second here. All right. I do not like those red tabs at all. Okay. Okay, I think it's on there. It's just really, sometimes this plastic stuff when it's new, guess we'll find out. Okay, so now we've got to replace our that resistor thing. I forget where the hell it's at now. Okay, I'm just having a moment here. I'm about beat again for the day, so let me get my crap together and figure out what the hell I was even doing at this point. We got the blower motor in, got to replace the resistor, and then also we're gonna do these here, remember, so we've got a new set of those here. So the owner had some problems with all this stuff and wanted everything replaced. She could replace, so all right, let me pause this thing and get it figured out, and we'll get back at it. Okay, so I really should have remembered to put in the new blower motor resistor thing when I had all this out, because getting it out of there is a pain in the butt. But I did. Problem is you got to get this wiring harness off of here. And there's this funky thing with these clips, and I know some of these things you're supposed to just like pull this red thing out and then it releases, but this one's not doing it, and I'm not sure that I'm doing it right. And I'm just, after doing everything else I've done today, I'm just kind of seeing, double right now. So I'm just gonna call it a day and go in and research these clips. And after I get that and put that in there, we got the blower motor in there, we got to put this in there, we got to replace these controls right here, and then put the console back in and the glove box back in and the trim piece back on top and the bezel on there. And that sounds like a lot, but we're getting there. So anyways, but I just wanted to update on that. I just turned the camera off because I just was fussing and fuming trying to get that thing out of there, and I'll go over a little bit more how to get it out of there. But yeah, if you got the whole thing out, I just wasn't thinking, but that happens. So anyways, I will return. And if you don't know what this is, this thing goes into the heater box, and it allows I believe it's the resistor board for the heater motor blower speeds, and if that's messed up, then you only get like high or whatever. And this vehicle had that problem also. So anyways, just a short update on that stupid blower motor resistor, and I'll gonna let this gel for a while, do a little research, and then either get back at it later this evening after I've had a chance to rest for a while, or start it again tomorrow. So with that, I shall return. Okay, so I'm back, and yesterday I got this thing all back together here, but then I forgot to replace the blower motor resistor, which, boy, I really wish I would have done that when I had all this out of there, because it's a pain in the butt to do when it's in here, kind of. So I didn't want to have to turn this into a blower motor removal video or have to make a section for it, but since I didn't replace it when it was out and I got to do it, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. So To get to this thing, you leave your glove box door off. I had to kind of pull these wire ring looms down a little bit just to give me some more room in there. This is the plug that goes on. Okay, this is your blower motor resistor here. This goes into the air box down in here, and it goes in there like this. And then this plug comes up underneath there and plugs into it like this. The problem is this plug, like a lot of these connectors on these Jeeps, this plug has this little red tab thing on here that you've got to pull out to be able to push this down and release it, and it is just an impossible thing to do almost when it's in there. It just, sometimes these things get so hot they're almost melted on there. You know, there's just other kinds of, and they just get stuck. So basically what you need to do is you need to take this thing and you need to pull it out with the plug already on there. So basically you're going to be pulling the assembly out like this. So what you got to do is you got to look in there and you'll find this screw here and this screw here. Let's see, I think that's the way that it's in there. It might be the other way around here. Yeah, it's upside down, doesn't matter. You'll have a top screw and a bottom screw, and when you find those screws, it's a 5/16 or an 8mm, I believe, to get them out. You may need a socket, you may need an open end wrench, you may need all kinds of things to get in there to try to get that out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera off here and kind of show you what's going on. All right. So you can kind of see it's right there where my I keep trying to see where, okay, I can see down in there where my finger's at right here. There's this slot right here. Okay, and the blower motor resistor, basically you can put it in from the top and just kind of put it in like that. Whoops. It's kind of sitting in there. Bear with me, this is fidgety and I know you can't see very well, but okay. Again, that's the way it's going to sit in there like that. Now once you get the old one in there like that, you just put these screw up here in the top corner and the one down here in the other corner, and then you just reach up in there like this plug here, the old plug, and plug the plug onto it. It's basically what you got to do. But like I said, before you do that, you've got to take this old one off. So there's a couple different ways to get this thing out. I'm going to set this back up here. Hope that lawnmower noise isn't too loud in the background. Okay, so alright, so when this thing is connected to it like this, and it's in the air box like that, once you take this screw off here and this screw off here, you're going to want to pull it straight back, except there's this duct right here that's in the way. So basically, if you want to get this thing out, you really are going to have to do one of two things. You can either kind of, because like I said, there's a round slot in there that this goes into. You can kind of turn it sideways like this and kind of pull it out like that, and then down and out like this. Or you can kind of just bend down on it. You'll kind of you'll bend and basically break off the plastic thingy, you know, like this, if you just bring it out and pull down on it kind of and pull it out of there. But at that point it won't matter, you know, because then you'll just have this, you know, on the connector here. So anyways, that's the drill for getting that out of there, is you got to loosen this screw here, this screw here. That's really the bitch of it, is getting to those screws. Like I said, then once you do that, you can pull it out and down and break that thing off, or just kind of pull it out in an angle like that and then down. Now, once you've got it down to this level here, you've got this clip on here. And the idea is that this clip pulls out, and then you can take and push down on there's a tab that's back here. You can push down on that, and there's a little tab in here that it lifts up on, and then you can pull this off. The problem is these things just get all screwed up, and just it turns into an absolute disaster area. So what you want to do to get it off of there is you're going to want to just try and push this thing with a screwdriver back, and then there's a tiny little tab in there that if you just kind of pry up on that in there, then this thing will come back off of there. And then after that, you can take some wire cutters or something and kind of rip this red thing out of here, this little clip out of here, so that after that it's a little bit easier to plug and unplug. So that's just kind of what's going on with that. There are numerous videos on the internet showing you how to do a blower motor resistor. Most of them are probably better than this one, because like I said, I really wasn't prepared to make a video on that. It just kind of the way it happened there. So I'm going to go back and kind of get my stuff together again here. I'm going to do a little more work to this and figure out if there's an easier way to just yank this plastic clip out of here. And then I'll kind of recap it again real quick, and then I'll put this one in, and then we'll move on to taking care of the controls over there in the center stack there. So stick with me. Okay, that's tight on there. So I have no idea how much of any of that you just saw, but again, we've got it in there. This damn camera. Okay, so once again, that right there, there we go. So we got our top screw on there, our bottom one there. Remember, it's got to go so the tab part's on the bottom here. I thought it went to the top, but that's not right. So there. So we got it in there. Like I said, I moved this green wire, this green wiring harness and all this stuff out of the way, so it was easier to get to that. Now I'm going to take the old plug down here, and we're going to reach up in there and plug that thing into it. This is just, I can't do this with holding the camera. It's just, I'm going to destroy everything here. Got the tripod behind me. I'm tripping over. I'm trying to hold the camera with one hand. I got to set this down. I wish I didn't have to, but I got to do it. Getting there. I gotta pause it. This is going nowhere. Okay. So I got the connector in there. You have to fiddle with it, and I really apologize for not being able to get a better shot of all this on camera. Pulled these wires back up and put them back where they're supposed to be there. There's one screw under here. That little one there for that wiring harness there, you're going to want to undo that from the blower motor there, because that goes up to that plug, and if you take that clip off, you'll need to take that off so that you have room to work that plug around and move that wire back. So I'm just getting ready to put that back on there, and we've got everything just about buttoned up here. So I'm going to kind of finish up with this real quick here, and then I'm going to we're going to start on that center stack there with this thing here. So stick with me. Okay. Alright, well, I've done just about everything else on camera, including having my little meltdown, so I might as well just put this last screw in here too, right? Okay. Alright. So again, the biggest pain with the blower motor is this little clip and taking the thing off. You want to take the whole thing, you want to take the plug and the thing out, rotate it like that and down, and watch a better video on it. That's what you want to do. All right, let me clean off the seat a little bit here. This is our new part here. Okay, let me see what we got going on here for. All right, I'm going to hop in on the other side here. That was good. Put everything on the driver's seat and then get in on the driver's side. That's organization for you. Screwdrivers. Do not keep screwdrivers and pliers and stuff in your pockets. That's one habit I've pretty much gotten out of doing over the years. So, okay. This looks pretty much the same. This has got 2 more holes in it here, but I'm sure this fits a variety of applications. Okay, so this has the factory knobs on it. I'm going to leave those on there for now and wait till I got it bolted in here. I'm guessing we're going to 1/4 inch or Phillips, either way. I don't know if these knobs, I guess these are aftermarket knobs. There aren't any other knobs anywhere else that are like that, so I'm guessing those are. Okay, and we're going to pull this thing back out. All right, let's see if we got some stuff that looks like it's all the same here. Yeah, looks like everything's everything there, so we'll start by taking this plug here. These plugs. Okay, that was nice. All right, this one here. Oh wow. Okay, that is like the easiest removed electrical plug on a car ever, especially a Jeep. Did you see that? That was just really slick there. I really like how that came off of there. You're like, why are you putting it back on? Because I want to take it off again. That was just so damn easy. Nice. That's the way it's supposed to be. And then we got these funky ass clips here on this thing here. I would imagine this stuff just breaks at a very alarming rate in older vehicles. I mean, this one's in pretty good shape. Okay, another one of these. That one came off pretty easy. And then this one here. That one's really on there. It's got one on the other underside too. We're gonna have to pop this up with a screwdriver. There we go. Okay. Now we're gonna grab our new one here. And that goes on. Okay, so try putting it on. What the hell? Okay, this is interesting. I don't know if these are different part numbers or what's going on here, but they look the same except for the knobs on here, which I think these are aftermarket. But look at the back. This thing here is different on this one. It looks like you just turn the plug around to put it on there. So that's what I'm going to do. Like this was on there this way, it looks like it needs to be spun on there that way. So again, these two things here are different. This is different, you know, totally different here. So, here's the new one. So I guess we just turn this way and put it on like that. Okay, I guess we'll see. This one goes up here. All the rest of them are the same, just that one. And that is the blower motor. So I guess if that don't work, we'll know why, right? Maybe they did something to try to make it a little better. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of wonky how it goes on there, but I guess. Okay. Now they gave me a extra little rubber harness here, but these aren't long enough. This is not long enough to replace that there, so I'm just going to keep it. And again, make sure you keep your old one, because if something goes wrong, you know, with this new one, I got to put the old one back in, so I'm going to hang on to it just in case. I'll wait to put the knobs on too until I'm sure that it's going to work. So, all right, put this thing back in there. One up here. And one over here. Can't just try it right now because the battery's not in it. So I have faith. The connectors all look the same, so I just flipped, you know, like I said, just flipped the wire around, so that hopefully will work. So I guess we'll find out, right? Hopefully it won't blow out the new blower motor resistor I just put in there. So, okay, where are we here? All right, we've replaced that. We replaced the blower motor. We've replaced the blower motor resistor. We've now replaced this. I think that's about it. I think I'm ready to put this back together and put the console back in here, and then we're going to throw the battery in and see what's going on there. So let me all right. Okay, so let me get it together here again and get my pieces and parts that I need to put back on there, and I shall return. Stick with me. Okay, got everything ready to put the center console thing back on here, the trim piece. So again, there's basically 4 clips, and sometimes the clips will stay in the dash, but that's no big deal, just pull them out. There's 4 clips and 2 screws up here. Sometimes these screws are missing, sometimes the little tabs on here are broken. So but looks like we're ready to go here, so check everything, make sure all the wires are out of the way, make sure everything looks like it's supposed to be. Make sure all these little clips feel like they're getting ready to go home there. And then just push. Okay. There we go. And that's all you really even need to hold that thing on there. These screws up here are just kind of for good measure. Alright, I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to have to move up here a little bit. Okay, you got to be careful with these screws here because you got the AC vent, this defrost vent, and everything else up here. So grab my screwdriver here. Okay. These are not lining up right, so we got to see why. It's just fidgety. Half of why these screws are broken off half the time, I can tell you that. Don't expect the windshield rear view mirror to be an adjustment after all this either. Like I said, really don't like all this trim piece interior stuff, especially on these newer vehicles, but what are you going to do, right? Again, not too tight with those guys. Alright. Pain in the rear. It all lines up, it all goes back together, but you get one little thing out of order and it's not fun. Okay, I think we're good there. Alright. Yeah, I think we're good to go here. Everything looks like it's supposed to be, so. Alright, now we're going to put this top trim strip back on. This is another thing here. It's a good time to wipe it off or clean it up, and I'm going to do just that. I'll be right back. Okay, again, hopefully the yard equipment trim in the background's not being too much of a pain in the rear. So we're going to put this top trim strip back on. Again, I wiped it off. These little things in here are going to probably be broken out from time to time. You know, this is kind of a gentle, delicate area here, so anyways, so let's see here. Clips go in these little square holes here. Just pretty much just, I gotta move the duck. Sorry, Ducatello. And it's just gonna sit like that. Go around to the other side. Good to go there. And now we're going to grab the glove box and throw that in. Okay, got another duct to move here. And again, these glove boxes, the other most easy thing to remove on a Jeep, you just got these slots right here, and these slots coming off the glove box. You just line these slots up like that. Take this little strap here and slide it in there, and you're good to go. So that's how that works. All right. Wow, it actually looks like a Jeep in here again. I got to get the dash mat and put that on. I think I'm going to wash it maybe, because I know the person that owns this and they would like to have a nice clean Jeep when I'm done with it. So I will probably end up washing that dash mat there. But for now what we're going to do, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, now we are going to getting the console back in. Just a quickest of recaps. We just got done taking the whole interior out, this dash part out here for the heater core and evaporator core. We just got that all put back together. We had one little snag with the having to redo the blower motor resistor, because I forgot to do that when it was out, so I had to do that. Then after that, it's pretty much just putting all this stuff back together again. So we got to put the console in, the shift boot on, the shift knob on there, get this taken care of here, and then I think we're pretty much done inside. We're going to move on to under the hood and get going under there. So stick with me. Okay, I'm back, and I just walk away in the middle of a sentence because whatever. It's my show, so what the hell, right? It's a show for sure. Okay, I'm gonna grab my tape real quick and tape this door open. It's just gives you so much more room, and again, for filming and everything, it's just really it doesn't take much to take these doors off either, but I'm just gonna this works perfectly good for my purposes. So, all right, we got everything put back together on the dash, except for the dash mat here. Now's also a good time. You know, if you get any scuffs anywhere from any of this kind of stuff, you know, you're gonna get scuffs and little nicks and dings on your plastic, anyways. You know, if you use it at all, if you have kids, whatever. You know, you could take some really fine. You could try some like plastic buffing compound and try putting that on there. Just make sure you wipe everything down really good. Maybe, you know, if you've got an area that's kind of got a scratch where the area is kind of raised, maybe take some, you know, a little emery board, some sandpaper, just something to kind of, you know, knock the edge down a little bit. Take some, you know, interior, you know, plastic stuff and clean it all up with that, and it really helps a lot. It helps hide scratches and dings and nicks, and it really does a lot to help your interior. So just kind of a little note after that, because you do get scuffs and scratches and dings just throughout the normal course of time, or when you do stuff like that. So I lucked out, did pretty good, because again, that's, you know, why lots of towels and rags and stuff. This could have been a little thicker right here. This almost kind of wore through here. It didn't, but you know, this could have been used to been doubled up a little bit here. But nevertheless, it served its purpose, so we're good to go. So, okay, console. Now, I honestly cannot remember. I think it took the rear out second, so I think I'll just take the rear part here, because we got to lift it up and put it over this emergency brake handle here. Now's also a good time to look down here at your emergency brake mechanism. They're usually kind of rusty. Maybe squirt a little WD-40 on it and rub a rag around it just to kind of keep it from rusting and kind of help oil it just a little bit. All right. Now this has a split in it right here. Let me go make sure some of this is in frame, because Good enough. Okay, so hold on just a second. Okay. Okay, I just edited a bunch of garbage out because I was not prepared to start filming. Sometimes I turn the camera on and it's like, what'd you do that for? Because it takes me 5 minutes to get together. So here we got the center part here. Hopefully you can kind of see around all this stuff here. This is the front, of course. Okay, so we got the rear part here. And it's empty, but it does have some wires going into it. It's got a wire that runs underneath the console and then plugs into here so that you can have a port, you know, a charging port inside the console. And then it's got a radio antenna going to it in the back, but you really can't see it from where you are. It's down on the bottom, so we'll just bring this forward and slide it down. I'm pretty sure I put the put the rear in here first because it came out. Now again, we got 2 screws back here. These are Torx screws. These are what were they? T25. So you got on this one. Now some of these consoles have bolts down inside of them. Some of them have a couple down on the edges here. This one, it just had 2 in the rear drink holder here, holding it down in the back. The cup holder, I guess I should say. So alright, I got a little bit of stuff I gotta do here. I gotta lift this thing up. Okay, and route my cord. Like I said, there's a cord underneath here. This is not stock again. This is something that was added. So there'd be a charging port inside of here. So, okay. And we want to route this thing so that it's not in the way of the e-brake. So as long as it's routing over here. Okay, hold on here a second. Let me reposition myself so I can reroute this cord here. Okay. All right. That's how I want it. Just took it and ran it. If you got any cords or anything you want to run from back here up to the front, you can just like tuck it in between this box here and the panel here, kind of. Like I said, there's a radio antenna coming out back here. But that's okay. It's in the back, so. Just set this thing over here and let's see, we'll get it about where over the holes are. Okay, that just sat right down on there. Going to all right. Okay, gonna make sure that's like it's supposed to be there. Right. Okay. I think we're good there. So we've got our two T25s. Sorry that took so long. That was just kind of like deafening silence there. So we've got our two T25s in there. We're going to put those in down. And I believe there's just 2 or 3 for this front part here. There's just 2 holding this back on here. There's one right here, but the front part of the console goes on. And then there's a bolt that goes through there. Okay. All right. And sometimes there's a little rubber mat that goes down in the bottom of those cup holders to cover up the screws. I'm not sure if there was one in there or not. I can't remember. I may have taken it out and thrown it in that bag there, or it might not have had one in there, but if it did, I will find it and put it in there. Okay, time for the front. This is, of course, the rubber cup holder part. Here's the rubber thing for the rear. There we go. Answers that question. This, they changed it, I think in 04 or 05. This used to have a bolt, plastic things going down in here, and then you pop them out and there was a bolt. This whole rubber thing pops out, and then you've got the bolt that goes down in here. And those 2 bolts I kept up here, and this here. Okay, so the big trick with this, okay, I really don't have to worry about this wire over here, because once I get this over this, I can route this underneath here. So I just gotta the trick with this is kind of putting it down at an angle like this, and then waiting to get this four-wheel drive lever through it there, like that. Okay. All right. That was reasonably painless, somewhat. Okay, I'm going to just start these screws. Actually, these are bolts. They are... let's see. Tens, 10 millimeter. Okay. We're going to put our four-wheel drive lever back down there. Alright. I'm going to run my little, route my wire up through here. Okay. All right. Okay, that wire's about 100 times longer than what it needs to be. Again, this do something with the slack here. This plugs into one of these, and then there's an electrical port inside of here to either plug the little CB radio in that's in there, or an accessory of some kind. So, okay, we got that routed. Not a bad idea to take a flashlight and kind of look down in here and make sure if you've got any wiring or anything routing, make sure you're clear of your e-brake thing, because you don't want that pinching anything. Also a good idea if you got any wires running to and from there, make sure you got fuses in them, so if they ever do work their way into there, you have some fuse protection there. Alright, just kind of finishing tightening these bolts here. I need to check the camera here. Alright. It's probably gonna be wanting a new battery here pretty soon. Alright, we'll just snug these things up a little. Again, plastic, so I'm not gonna snug them up too much. This one had a little ways to go still, obviously. Okay. And next we're going to put our shift boot on. And that's like this. There's two clips in the back are a little bit closer together than the ones on top there, is the name of that game. Again, I cleaned the shift boot off, and now's a good time to, you know, clean up all your interior pieces as they're coming off. Okay, then we got a rubber cup holder we're going to stick back down in here. I'm trying to remember which way this thing goes in there. I think it goes in like this. Yeah. It goes in a specific way. It only goes in one way. You'll try to put it in the other way and realize it's the other way. Okay, we got our shift knob back in there somewhere. Put it in a bag in here. Got to be in here somewhere. Yeah, bear with me here for a second here. Very important. Be respectful of someone else's vehicle and their docks. This is screwed on there. It's got a couple of set screws in here that I need to tighten down a little bit, but I'll do that probably off camera. And you're thinking, wait, is this a different scene? He's got the trim piece off again. Nope, two more screws were laying down there. It didn't seem, they're hard to see up here. They just blend in, and there's just, you know, there's holes here that don't have screws that go in and ones that do. So it's just, you know, it's not really that big of a problem, but it, it's definitely an issue. I'm gonna go get my little wrench for that one. Hold on. All right. I was just getting ready to pull the floor mat out and was just getting ready to vacuum this out under the floor mat a little bit, and there it was, 2 screws laying there. It's like I just immediately knew where they were from, right? Okay. No more screws laying around anywhere, really, pretty sure. Again, set this up in here. Use one of these to get it off of there. Seems to work the best. All right, I'm going to put this on over here. Just being honest and thorough. I'm whacking my head. All right. Okay. Just needed to add that. Okay, just needed to add that in there, so there we go. Now we're done again.